not all debt is bad debt. Good debt can buy cash flowing assets. So here's an example. You can use a business loan to invest in your business, meaning that you borrow at a low interest rate and invest it to earn a higher interest rate. You can also use cash value life insurance. You can borrow at a low interest rate and invest it into an income generating asset that's producing a higher interest rate than what it costs you. Would you rather be debt free or wealthy? That's a trick question because the goal is both at the same time. See, most people think they need to clear all their debt before they start building wealth. Well, that's how they end up staying broke.
And this video is going to be a little bit controversial, but hang out with us for a little bit because by the end of this video, you are going to learn how to pay off your debt and build wealth at the same time. So let's just jump right into it, right? This is why being debt-free doesn't mean that you're wealthy. And the main reason being is because we spend so much time in tunnel vision trying to pay all of our debt, and the next thing you know, years go by and we have no savings, no investment, no compound interest, nothing to show for ourselves. We're debt-free, yes, but then at the same time, if anything comes up, you gotta fix a car, you gotta buy something new, you don't have any money to do it.
Right.
So you have zero balances, but you don't have any cash flow.
Right.
And that is the name of the game to this whole situation of financial freedom is cash flow. So we want to put into perspective today for you all to think about getting out of debt and building wealth at the same time. Because you realize if you just focus on paying off the debt, you don't have any cash. And then what do? Then you have to go back into debt to buy for the car, to pay for the emergencies, to pay for your kids' stuff, all the things that come up because you don't have the cash on hand.
Right, because financial freedom isn't about not owning anything. It's about owning income producing assets.
Yes.
Now let's reiterate what Carmen just said about the common mistakes people make, because this may be you. Is the fact that you throw every single dollar at debt, which means you have no savings and no investment and no cushion. So when life hits, like your car breakdown or you have some type of medical emergency, you have to dip into credit cards again. And that starts the cycle all over again.
And that's how you were never free.
Right, it's the debt cycle, it's pay off debt, emergency, and then back in debt. But we have to break this cycle. We have to intentionally and consciously break this cycle.
So here is a 3-step formula to paying off debt and building wealth at the same time. So are you ready for it? Step number 1, we said it, save first. Don't start paying off your debt. And here's why, going back to needing some cushion, right? Have you ever broke through a shoe and had no sole? we don't want that to be the situation with your finances, right? So let's build up some cushion. Let's challenge you to save at least 3 to 6 months of your income first before you start paying off all of your debt. Again, reason being is because we want to make sure that you have cash, and then we start paying off our debt so that we can have both at the same time, right? We need to give ourselves some breathing room, some wiggle room, so that when life happens, we can utilize the cash that we have as opposed to going deeper into debt.
Right, because this kind of sounds like insurance, right? It kind of sounds like insurance. It's to keep
self-insurance.
It's to insure you from using your credit cards, which is a higher interest rate.
Go figure.
The lowest interest, what you want to do always is leverage the lowest interest rate, which would be no interest, with your emergency fund coming from your savings. The important thing to understand is you still have to replace those funds, but you don't have to replace it at 20 or 30%, or not 30% yet, but 20 to 25% if you were to use your credit card.
Exactly.
So cash flow is priority.
Absolutely.
Not zero balance.
I'm so excited to get to step number 2. Step number 2 is now pay off your debt. All right, so let's prioritize our debt. So first, we want you to prioritize the high interest debt. Anything 10, 20 and above, let's prioritizing paying that off as fast as you can. So before, let me make sure that I'm clear on what I'm saying. With step number 1, save. In order for you to save, I want you to stop paying over the minimum payments of your credit cards, right? All that extra money that you were throwing at the minimum payments, take that and save it. Put that in your savings account. And then once we get to step number 2, then we can start paying over the balances again so that you can quickly reduce those debts. So prioritize your high interest debts, and you can do the snowball method, which is starting with the lowest balance, going to the highest balance, or you can do the avalanche method, meaning if you have multiple debts, you start with the highest interest rate and then you work your way down to the lowest interest rate, depending on how you want to do things. So that's your game plan for paying off debt. And the whole point is you're not waiting for years to go by before you can start getting compound interest growth, because you'll be able to have that in your savings.
Right, and a part of prioritizing paying off debt is to not use it.
Yes.
Right, you have to create a situation where you can make those minimum payments, but you have to actually stop using the high interest debt in the first place, because that's how we're going to take those minimum payments, the minimum overpayments that you're putting on those credit cards, and we're going to start actually using our money for the stuff that we need. The credits that you get, like the cashback rewards and the travel miles that people always like to talk about when they talk about using their credit cards, you don't have to have a balance in order to do that. As long as you pay your account off to zero, you'll accumulate those points. But the idea is for us to do it responsibly.
Absolutely.
Do it responsibly and not have a high balance on our credit cards just because we want to use that as an excuse to continuously, build credit or build these points. We don't. It's not necessary.
No, yeah, we get caught up in the FOMO, right? Everybody's doing it, but let's focus on what we need to do first, and then you can jump into the pool later.
Everybody's not paying 20-25% interest every single month.
Nor should you, right?
Nor should you.
So we started with high interest debt. Then your second priority is, once you've wiped out the high interest debt, then we want you to start looking at your low interest debt, like your mortgages or your student loans, right? The ones that are on a slow simmer. Prioritize investing instead. Actually, like get some cash flow, get some cash flowing assets first, and then we can work through like your mortgages and your student loans, for example. Right. Now, the other thing too is, as we're going through this, I recognize that we have some really ambitious people in the Wealth Nation family, and I want to make sure that this conversation is also for people who maybe aren't as into investing and don't want all these cash flowing assets. This video is specifically for people who just want a savior to get out of debt and to have some sort of plan. Because I hear some of my creative homies out there going like, wait, Carmen, why am I waiting to do all this? I can do that now and then have my debt, have my cash flowing assets pay off my debt. Yes, there's many ways to do that. But again, just bear with us for some moment, because there are some people who aren't going to want to do that.
Right. Yeah. Right. And I think also there's people who can't see the opportunity because they're in so much debt. They only see the debt and the issues. So mentally that keeps them from thinking or looking at the future, because they're so inundated with the stress of having debt.
Exactly.
Now, the step number 3, if we can move on, is is to leverage smart debt. Not all debt is bad debt. Good debt can buy cash flowing assets. So here's an example. You can use a business loan to invest in your business, meaning that you borrow at a low interest rate and invest it to earn a higher interest rate. You can also use cash value life insurance. You can borrow at a low interest rate and invest it into an income generating asset that's producing a higher interest rate than what it costs you. So
invest the cash value from your whole life insurance policy.
Right. Invest the loan from the insurance company in a higher income producing asset that's producing interest, more interest than it costs you. So it's not the fact that all debt is bad debt, it's how you use it. And it's good for us to go in this order of making sure that you pay off your high interest rate first, because again, what you want to make sure that you do is you have the understanding and go through the journey correctly, so that you are able to benefit from each one of these nuances, because the high interest debt is taken away from the income that you can be using to invest.
And let's also go back for a moment. I want to talk about perspective, because perspective is just how you see things. And you can choose to see your situation as unfortunate, as whatever negative thoughts and things that come into your head, or you can also look at the debt, regardless if it's good debt or bad debt, and look at it as an opportunity to have had money when you didn't have it, right? And now we can do something about it. So let's have a real world example really quickly. Let's say, for example, that I have $50,000 in student loans and I have $10,000 on my credit card. So if the student loans is like at 5%, and then the credit cards, that $10,000 balance is at 22%, because that's really what credit cards are now these days. All right, so here is my plan of action. Step number 1 is I am going to stop paying over the minimum payments on my debts. I'm going to pay the minimum payments on my credit card and also on my student loan. And the money I was paying over, I am going to put that in my savings account, and I'm going to throw as much of my income into my savings account as I possibly can, so that I can save, for me, at least 6 months of my income. That's my first plan. That's the only thing that I'm laser focused on, is getting as much cash flow as possible. And I'm going to put my debts to the side and just pay them the minimum payments and satisfy them how I can.
Yeah, and a part of that is to stop using the credit cards in the first place.
Amen.
Stop using the high interest debt in the first place.
Step number 2 then is, now that I have my savings, now I'm going to go back to my debt, my credit card, for example, and I'm going to start paying that down with a vengeance. I'm going to pay that off as fast as I possibly can, using as much as my income as I can. So all those overage payments that I was paying, I can now resume that, start paying that down as aggressively as possible. All right, that's step number 2. Now, step number 3, my credit card is debt. My credit card debt is done. I'm actually going to start investing. So investing might look like many different things for people. For Darius and I, we like to invest in real estate. That's our bread and butter. So I'm going to start researching real estate and figuring out ways in which I can start taking some of my income and investing it into real estate, for example, so I can start creating cash flowing assets. And get this, I'm actually not going to use any of my own money to do so. So I'm going to use private money, meaning other investors' money, in order to invest in real estate, because probably at this time, if I only have 6 months of my income saved, that's not going to be enough money for me to really get involved in flipping homes or seller financing and things like that.
All right, now ideally you want to invest about 10 to 20% of your income. The reason being is you're paying 10 to 20% on those high interest debts. So take that money that you're putting towards those debts. After you've paid it off, now it frees up your ability to start investing those funds, because we were using those funds to consume.
Mm-hmm. And the last step is really going to be, maybe I'm going to call it a hybrid approach, because as I've created cash flowing assets, I can utilize those cash flowing assets to either, 1, help pay down my student loans more aggressively, or I can use those cash flowing assets to create more cash flowing assets. So I'm going to leave that up to you. This is really going to be dependent on how people feel, because at this point you might not care as much about the student loan debt because you already got your cash flowing assets, and you might just get that bug and you want to keep getting cash flowing assets. So that would be my plan of action, is I would just continue to get more cash flowing assets and keep my student loans on the slow burn, but start more aggressively paying that down now that I have a plan of cash flow. And that, family, is the end result of how you pay off your debt and build wealth at the same time.
Right. Now, with that said, there are some common misconceptions.
Sure. Oh wait, but before you say that, can I add something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, sorry to interrupt. So I realized we said all of this without talking about whole life insurance, because our channel is all about whole life insurance. There are some nuances in which I would remix and put my whole life insurance in there to do this. But again, this is just for people who are looking for debt solutions.
Okay.
So if you want to learn about how to pay off your debt with whole life insurance, you can check out more videos.
Right. Now,
now I'm ready.
Okay. So some of the common myths around this is, of course, is the fact that you have to pay off all your debt before you start investing. That is not right. That's not true. That's actually wrong. That delays your wealth building years. And the reason why that's important is because you want to get into compounding interest as soon as possible, and you don't want to delay that because compound interest works best at the end. You can't get to the end if you don't start.
Amen to that.
So the next point is all debt is bad debt. That is absolutely false. Good debt equals leverage and bad debt equals consumption. Good debt equals leverage and bad debt equals consumption. So
Roger, put those words on the screen for us so everybody can see.
So to Carmen's point, basically is like leveraging a low interest debt, like getting a loan from insurance policy, to invest in real estate where you can get a higher return on your money than what it costs you. Bad investment would be using your credit card at 20% to consume. You haven't used any of the funds to make more than what it costs you to borrow. So all debt isn't bad debt. It's just how you use it, how you leverage it for your benefit or lack thereof.
Yeah. And the other thing, the next note, the myth that I want to throw out there is that savings is more important than investing. And that's not true, because they do two different things. Savings protects and investing builds. So as we go about thinking with financial literacy lenses in mind, is we have to figure out, where are we standing? Do we need to create protection, or are we ready to build? And it's just
offense and defense, right?
Yeah, it's exactly that. So we just have to figure out what teams are we assembling so that we can be successful in playing this game.
Right. Now, here's the underlying thing that we have to really understand, is that you have to shift your mindset and understanding, again, to Carmen's point, where are you standing? Because all we're doing is playing a mental game. All we're doing is playing a mental game. So paying off debt is important, But building wealth is the goal. Paying off debt is important, but building wealth is the goal. So we have to shift our mindset around it. And here's another one around mindset is if you focus on your zero debt, then you have zero balance, which means you have zero growth.
Yeah, because you were focused on giving the bank their money back and you weren't focused on keeping any of your money for yourself.
So that you can make money. The bank's making money, period. They're making money, period, because they gave you the money in the first place. So we have to shift our mindset around where our focus lies. Again, if we focus on zero debt, then we're going to have a zero balance, which means we have zero growth.
Yeah.
And the next thing is to follow the plan. If you follow the plan, then what you'll have is cash flow. What you'll have is investments, and what you'll have is freedom. So following the plan equals cash flow, investment, and freedom.
So if you want help with this strategy, family, definitely click on the link below so that we can serve you in creating your financial freedom for your whole life. And if you want to know more information on how you can actually pay off your debt using whole life insurance, then click on our next video.
Remember to own your own lifestyle.
Or someone else will.